Hello, folks. I hope everybody is well. I hope everything is coming through nice and clear for you. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. These sound weird at the moment. Let me just put the noise cancelling on. Sounded like I got a real bad head cold right then. That's better. There we go. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's well. Let's get some stuff out of the way straight away, I guess. Unfortunately, obviously, Kerry isn't going to be turning up. She's, there's personal issues going on in her life. We'll reschedule for another time. So all the best wishes in the world going out to her. She needs a little bit of love, a little bit of kind of goodwill thrown in her direction at the moment for going through a tough time. Reason she was going to be on is because it's her birthday next week, and it's my birthday on Monday, which is why this is the birthday stream and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll continue. So it's a little bit of a different lineup. I've chosen Rabid for the second one. And the link is down below. There is a cheapish rental for like about a couple of quid or whatever it is, or if you've got your home media, you can watch along on that and just hope to God that we sync up. I'm watching the Amazon link for that, so we will watch that for the second one. The first one is a little bit of a treat. In that, well, I don't know if it's going to be a treat, to be quite fair. Fingerblade Entertainment, I think it was, pointed me in the direction of GBH 2, the Cliff Twemlow sequel to the Section 3 title, GBH, obviously. Well, I had to make that clear. I've got no idea, but there you go. Just for, those in the back row, just thought I'd make that clear. So it may be good, it may be bloody awful, but I think we might have a bit of fun with it. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun with it. So that will be the first one up, and we will get on with that in just a little while. So in the meantime, as a bit of a birthday treat, I actually had a bit of communication from a director of a film that I reviewed not too long ago, just a 2 or 3 months ago. Jeff Lieberman. Jeff Lieberman got in contact with me and told me what he thought of my review, and he was very, very, very complimentary. He seemed to love it, so that's a birthday treat for me as far as I'm concerned. So that was lovely. Apparently it's Jeff Lieberman's birthday today as well, I believe. So happy birthday to Jeff Lieberman. His birthday's all round, isn't it, at the moment? We're all getting older. Thank you, Richard. Rabid is on HBO Max if anyone happens to subscribe to that. Good suggestion. However you can find it is going to be the way. I was toying with the idea of Shivers, but then I kind of I didn't want to mess you guys around anymore, so yeah, if it's anything like the first one, it'll be bloody awful, probably, but hopefully in a very fun way. I really did enjoy the original GBH. It's kind of yes, it's sort of bad, production values and on a bunch of levels, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those kind of earnest sort of films, they were clearly having a lot of fun and there's a lot of enthusiasm kind of injected into it. And from that, I got that energy from it. And, I would rather watch a dozen films like GBH than half of the stuff that gets kicked out of Hollywood these days. When you kind of looking around, it's like another Halloween film coming out, and sort of yeah, okay, But there you go. No reason why Jeff wouldn't be complimentary regard to reviews. Thank you. It's very flattering. Directors take very different kind of reactions to my reviews. I've had a couple come along who really, really didn't like what I kind of said about it. And, it's fair enough. I can't control their reactions, and neither would I want to. But, yeah, so Blue Iris says his comments didn't make you squirm. And I did thank him for Squirm. I do love that film. I just rewatched it last night, actually. Oh, shit. Try not to destroy the Blu-ray while I'm at it. But, yeah, I got the Arrow version there. And I watched that last night, so that was kind of good fun. If his sequel doesn't have a "now we're really gonna work out," it'll be a failure. So I don't know. I have no idea. It looks from. I had a bit of a sort of quick blap through it, but it was. It looks significantly more violent than the original. So we will see, and we'll see if we got the Mancunian Man song back in there. I think that will be a bit of a miss trick if they don't have that. You're off to see Dune on the 25th. Oh, very good. No reason why Jeff wouldn't be oh yeah, sorry, I read that. Saw a lift scene at Rivals Die Hard. Okay. Okay. Oh dear. Kira says, would be if my internet was, a little quicker. Might have to abandon the stream if it gets too bad. Do what you can. That's the joys of using digital streaming. I know I'm going to be whacking people over the heads with that kind of stuff, but I'm an old fart. I've got one more year before I'm 50 years old. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's actually not me being, my opinions on all this stuff, but internet speeds and kind of accessibility can be an issue. Curtis is too old. No, it's not that she's too old. I think, it's just the stories are. It hasn't got that much scope. I don't think. It's not really got the legs to keep getting dragged out. I just find the whole premise is so tired. But I feel the same with kind of Friday the 13th after the third one, Halloween after the third one. Nightmare on Elm Street after the third one. And I always get a certain amount of kickback on a lot of that, because understandably there's a lot of the horror community who absolutely adores that stuff. And I would never be the kind of person that would go, don't enjoy that stuff, it's bad. If that's your bag, then great, that's fine, but you'd struggle to convince me that they're good movies. And when I reviewed stuff like Blue Sunshine, Jeff Lieberman was so kind of chuffed about that review. It's a refreshing kind of film, because although the way the subject matter is kind of presented to us is specifically dated to that time, and I kind of commented on how that film could be quite happily remade with if it's done with care, and it could be kind of recontextualized to more modern, or at least more current times, quite happily. I like that film because it's got that kind of that heart to the subject matter, which is it's still relevant, and that's a sign of good storytelling for me. But forget all the sequels that Michael is. I mean, the whole thing's a mess because they keep stopping and starting it, don't they? But the crux of Halloween, this is why, the first one, to an extent, the second one, and to a great extent, the third one, are more interesting because, the story hadn't really run out of legs by that sort of time. At least, you get the first two, which are kind of like an extension of each other. And then the third one, which is a completely different film, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're just going to go back to Michael Myers, and it's going to be the same thing. It's very formulaic, And I've always felt that, as soon as a film becomes a franchise, that it loses a lot of interest for someone like me. I don't really want the same thing time and time and time again. There's very few circumstances where that works for me, especially with something as narrowly focused as a slasher film. Oh dear. Found Halloween's 3, 4, and 5 on YouTube. Might give them a glance. I'd absolutely give them a watch. For me, they didn't go very past 3, because 3 is kind of different and interesting. Although I do warn you, it is so different that you might kind of like go, "Why the hell is this a Halloween film?" But it's an interesting little story. It's kind of goofy. It's clearly very low budgeted. It has a few sort of an almost made for TV kind of feel for it, to it, which can be a little distracting. But if you can get past that, it's actually kind of a fun film. Oh dear. You liked 1 and 2, and that's it. Yeah, I like the third one just because it's kind of a very different story. I liked the idea of doing some kind of balls out horror like that, although it's kind of slow paced and more as of its time. It's a very kind of like it's got some good guts to that horror film. No pun intended. Michael Myers was named after the English film distributor who got Assault on Precinct 13 in English cinemas. Really? Okay, I did not know that. There you go. Is anyone watching Squid Games? Not bad. I don't have Netflix. I had Netflix years ago, and then I kind of just moved away from it because I just got... I was paying money for something I wasn't using that much. Maybe I'll go back to it someday. Don't know. So what I'm going to say at this point is get yourselves kind of queued up ready for GBH 2 Lethal Impact. It's a 1991 film. And we'll get started in the next few minutes. I will say watch Halloween 1, 2, 4, H2O and forget the rest. No, I'd say watch 3, skip 4, probably skip H2O, personally. Yeah. A lot of people liked the H2O. I thought it was passable, but not much better than that. Don't pay money for it, Glenn. There's lots of sites you can watch it for free. I don't mind paying for films if I'm kind of like taking a lot of time to watch those things. I try to buy as much, or at least kind of pay my way for that, because I do believe it supports the industry to an extent. There's a certain amount of sort of chicanery when it comes to studios that maybe the filmmakers don't get their full share, but there you go. Halloween 78, only a copy from Psycho. It's inspired by that, but it's different enough. I don't think it's as necessarily as layered a film in terms of the narrative and stuff as something like Psycho. Psycho is a much more cerebral film in many respects than Halloween. Halloween is very much a kind of visceral sort of film. It's a film about kind of like very base fears and stuff like that. Psycho has elements of that, but it's used in sort of furtherance of a much kind of more complicated story. Films come afterwards and copy the concept trend to devalue the concept. Yeah, they do a bit. It's a bit like the low budget Alien ripoffs. But yeah, you watch Alien and stuff like that. We're talking franchises and stuff like that. You look at the Alien franchise. Starts off with a really, in my opinion, the best, which is the first one. Then comes the very, very capable, at least, if not, for a lot of people, the best one, which is Aliens. Which I think is a bit more of a dumbed down kind of action film, but it is still highly entertaining. Then you got the third one, which was deeply flawed, but I actually find to be a very interesting film. A lot more interesting than Aliens in terms of what's actually going on and kind of character interaction and the nature of the story, and even how the horror is kind of delivered within that, because it goes much more back to being a horror film than Aliens was. But then it just goes really wayward, and the prequel ones were not great. I preferred Psycho 2 to Psycho, to be honest. A lot of people do, and to some extent I do. There's things I enjoy more about Psycho 2 than I do the original. But I think the original is, if you're looking at it in a more kind of analytical kind of sense, then the first one is a much, much more interesting film, at least in my opinion. Aliens was the best sci-fi sequel ever. That's probably true. That's probably true. It is an incredibly good, very, very solid sequel. Can't think of too many sequels that were as well executed as that particular film. It hit all the right kind of notes for the kind of audience that James Cameron was certainly heading for. Because it is more action orientated. Lots more guns, lots more xenomorphs, all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong when I say it's not. But when I say the kind of like negative things about Aliens, it's not because I dislike the film in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a very, very entertaining film, and one I hugely enjoyed at the time it was released. Oh dear. Okay, folks. So start giving me thumbs up when you're ready to go, and we will get going in just a couple of minutes then with GBH 2 Lethal Impact. I think that would be a very good place to start. I'm on the black sheep at the moment. It's my birthday. Well, it's not quite my birthday, but it's nearly my birthday. And oh yes, I should give a shout out to my brother as well, my twin brother, on that front, because obviously his birthday as well. Trying to take the glory away from my day. Unleash the Twemlow. Okay, folks. And obviously we're going to be rabbiting along on this, and probably not necessarily related to the movie. So as we go along. So okay, stand by, folks. We will go on count to 5 and go on go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I do apologise. This is in potato vision. But it's about the only copy you're going to get of this, as far as I can tell. I'll watch GBH 2 at a later time and stay for a bit, having two windows open at the same time. Okay. That's why a hard connection is kind of important. I'd love to know if there are any, kind of proper high def copies of this. I would say high def, at least full VHS would be good. Carpenter admitted he make Myers getting the second murder of Psycho and Neil Brenner's android. Okay, yeah. King of the Lurkers, yes, that's my brother. He does it well though. I hope you're enjoying Potato Vision. See, what you got to do with this particular film is sort of slightly defocus your eyes. You kind of squint a little bit, and it starts to kind of get up to VHS quality then. Aliens was actually an action remake of the original hits, it beat for beat. I wouldn't. I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I think it is. It follows a lot of the same beats, but it doesn't. I don't think kind of. If you put them side by side, that would necessarily work, because you've got a whole bunch of extra things going on with that film, like Hicks and Newt in particular. And, kind of the interactions with the company are significantly different, a lot more personalised. 80s hair. We need Donovan to sort out the Manchester club scene again. It's important. I think I'm going to swap over to my other headphones actually, because I'm not having a good time with these Bluetooth headsets. Tremolo sounds like someone with a speech impediment trying to say trem. Yes. I love the accents. Oi, you slag! Ah. Come on, switch off. Better. Nostromo of Alien 79 is Demeter of Dracula. Okay. If I remember my own script correctly, I literally named town Twemlow or something. He does have, a serious kind of cult following. And it's like really in the pretty much in the true sense of cult film following. Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to fix some settings on my computer. Yeah, he has this real kind of like hardcore kind of following. He does a couple of books about him and his films and his filmmaking career and all that kind of stuff, which I'd actually be quite interested in reading. Because one of the interesting things about the whole scene really was that he really started kind of like in that time when filmmaking really did become a lot more democratized with like affordable cameras and stuff like that, because it's all shot on video and stuff like that. See, this is quite a lot darker, isn't it? It's already quite a lot darker. But yeah, he got that kind of like in that time when people were, it was affordable to make movies, and he went out and made movies. And yeah, they kind of struggle with the certain qualities and stuff like that. They got literally next to no budget, and being shot on video and all that kind of stuff has that quality that a lot of people immediately sort of take against, because it's not as recognisable, but apart from anything else, as the cinematic form. And there he is. Trying to work out if it's his blurry vision or whether it's the potato vision of the video cassette. Oh, hello. Wow. That was a crotch shot. It's clearly got a sense of humour about itself as well, despite being quite dark so far. Twemlow smuggling a budgie there, yes. I really want to find a better quality version of this at some point. I just don't know where you're supposed to find it. It's not to say that the original quality would be particularly amazing, but yeah, like I say, even if we get it up to VHS standard, it'd be quite good. He's still a player. What an effort, yes. Especially with the potato vision, because it could be Donald Trump, for fuck's sake. Cliff Tremolo's in a hell of a lot better shape than Trump's ever been, I guess, but even so. It's a little hard to tell with this fuzziness. No, having a flashback? Film quality is perfect for watching on the original Casio portable TV, yes. It probably is. Oh, we've got the action theme back though. Didn't he get killed at the end of the first film? I don't remember him getting killed, or if it was kind of an ambiguous thing. I haven't watched the original for such a long time. I'm gonna have to watch it again. It sounds like the New York Ripper music. It does have that quality, doesn't it? But the nice thing about watching it in Potato Vision is at least we can pretend it probably looks better than the original GBH. You can hear the music. It's probably because these headphones are quite leaky. And my microphone's very sensitive, but hopefully it won't trigger the wrath of the YouTube gods. The fact that this is up at all, it's probably going to be alright. Sure, you could have won that Casio TV on Bullseye. Oh my god, I mean, there's a flashback. I mean, I'm taking the piss out of the quality, but I'm glad that we've actually got a copy to watch. So, yeah, I was so excited when I was told about this. His mate, Big Jim Rafferty, got killed. Yes, he did. There was that very touching scene, wasn't there? Actually, kind of an interesting sort of relationship between those two characters. I say very mildly interesting. For a film of its kind, certainly with GBH, as low budget as it is, it was always kind of like it could have been so much worse in terms of the writing. So it's one of the things I quite like about Cliff Twemlow is he doesn't mind being seen getting beaten up in fights and stuff like that. He's not that Steven Seagal type that would kind of like go, you can't lay a finger on me. You know what I should have done is I should have checked out the BBFC to see what the rating of this would have been. Why is it showing scenes from a horse race? I've got no idea. You can tell he's really kind of going for something with this. Again, you get the limitations of the media that he's recording with. As many kind of freedoms as digital, well, kind of shooting on video, I should say. It's not digital, it's analog. Shooting on video back in the day, doing the editing and all that kind of stuff had its own challenges. The first editing I ever did was with video cassette. It was an interesting process. Oh, Kieran, it could have been Lavette, because that was very heavy on the horse action, shall we say. Not a porno movie. I do like the way that kind of the character of Mike Donovan is this sort of he is that kind of cowboy sort of character still. He's a good man who occasionally does bad things and certainly operates outside of the law and all that kind of stuff. La Bête is actually a very interesting film in many respects, but there's a lot to get past. Oh, you're talking about Emmanuel in America? Okay. Until he's having, the way this scene is edited. Obviously, it's flashbacks. Trying to fill in certain historical aspects, but the way they're doing it's a little clunky and awkward. But like I say, that's a lot of that's down to kind of like the technology that they would have been using at the time. Very lo-fi. It's one of the points out sort of I'm struggling with the potato vision a little bit because it would be interesting to see it in its original definition for that. Emmanuel in America, I had considered it at some point, and I still may do it. D'Amato is, like I've said in previous streams, a director of interest to me. Yeah, I think if I was going to get a copy of Emmanuel in America, it would have to be the probably the US cut, I guess. I think I've got a copy of it somewhere. I'll have to have a look. Sir Clive Sinclair in his barman days. Is this movie as good as Halloween Kills? I haven't seen Halloween Kills yet, and I don't really have much desire to. Laura Gemser, yes. Yeah. The whole thing with Joe D'Amato is he's another one of those directors that has a lot of the same kind of people around him from one movie to the next, whether it be the likes of Laura Gemser or George Eastman, and they're often doing kind of behind the cameras kind of stuff as well. So he has his little film family, which is kind of an interesting dynamic, just like Jess Franco did, and just like even David Lynch does, So I've definitely got the Last Cannibals one. Okay. I know Josh Hadley wasn't impressed, but that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I do get the feeling it's going to be a very self-aware movie. To an extent, to the same extent as someone as Jess Franco would be. And some of those directors had some really cool films out when they got to make their kind of passion projects. People get lost in the fact that they a lot of their careers were kind of like meal ticket movies. And when you look at those kind of things, it's very easy to get the impression that they're not good filmmakers, but they were often very, very resourceful. Should have bent your knees and rolled with it. Hello, Stephen. Poundland Parkour, yes. I must admit, I'm kind of enjoying this film as much as I'm actually kind of watching it and talking about all this other stuff. So we've got a bit of kind of class warfare going on in this as well. Yes, Kieran, and we're going to watch that at some point. Um, Absolutely. Maybe that would be a good one for the next one. Do you think that fall was choreographed? So it's hard to tell with these low budget films, isn't it? There's always some pleasure that can be derived from a bad movie, says Simon. Yes, there is. Um, and I've always kind of tried to separate that idea of identifying a film as being a bad movie, but separate that from it being unenjoyable. Because you can get a badly made film that is a hell of a lot of fun to watch. You got your kind of Manos and stuff like that, which people really, really do find as a source of pleasure, for better or for worse, or The Room and those kind of films. but sometimes you'll get a film like I guess to to a great extent the films of Cliff Twemlow that are very lo-fi in how they're kind of shot and all that sort of stuff, but still have a real kind of passion to them that makes them kind of enjoyable, despite the shortcomings. Did we disagree over that? I don't mind disagreement. I really don't mind this bit of disagreement. It's fine. I always come off as being a lot more angry than I actually am, apparently. Wasn't there a sequel to Manos? There was a couple done. There was one that was sort of half made then abandoned. Then there was a kind of unofficial one. And then there was an official one, which I haven't seen, unfortunately. But then again, I also not sure if I want to watch it, just because it's always a tough thing to sort of recapture the nature of a film like Manos. I think you're right there, Adam. I can't remember his name either. I try to be. Some people kind of misread my tone of voice sometimes. Or kind of read the fact that I'm usually fairly measured in my tone as being some sort of passive aggressiveness. I'm opinionated, it's why I do what I do. I fully agree, Simon. There's so much wrong with that film, but it just kind of works as a very atmospheric but kind of fun film as well, with just the right, kind of spikes and punches of violence. I don't even have the pleasure of calling Mattei the worst exploitation director because Luigi Batzella also made movies. Yes. Oh, don't get me wrong. There were some terrible directors, but films like The Beast in Heat and stuff like that were just kind of fun for all the wrong reasons. It cracked faster than me on a diet. I assume you mean their first GBH, Stephen? Yes, I really enjoyed the original. There's a real earnestness to the story and the characterization, even if it doesn't, translate through the camera directly through the acting and stuff like that. It was a film made with, a lot of enthusiasm, and that really, really does come through, for me at least. Taxi Driver, yes. I don't think Manchester could really be described as hell, but there's a few cities in Britain that could probably be labelled a bit more like that. I mean, I'd rather spend time in Manchester than I would in London, for one thing. Nude for Satan. Oh, that's an alluring title. I'm Donovan. You got IMDb up, and it's a useful tool. It's always a good thing to double check any other references in it. Liverpool is hellish. Liverpool has its charms as well. I mean, cities all have their rough ends, but I have been to Liverpool and I quite enjoyed it. Chris piece of shite. Well, hopefully it's the best of London and not the worst. I have no kind of doubt, it's like, I know that London has some very kind of cool aspects, but it's not a place I could live. I don't think I could ever settle down in a place like that. Somebody suggested, I should move over to New York or somewhere like that, and it's like kind of like New York's just American London. Never ever seen a real life Jewish rabbi till I drove through Manchester. I mean, they're around. It's just kind of like they tend to be in certain places, don't they? It's like certain communities tend to kind of congregate in particular areas. It's like Leicester has its kind of different ethnicities kind of located in different areas. Well, yeah, lads, yes. There's a lot more strip clubs in this film, isn't there? Sunrise North Shore, yes. I mean, where I live, Cambridge is kind of like um, generally very, very middle class to upper class. It kind of, hello. Need some disco music playing. Leicester is a suburb of Pakistan. Leicester's a lovely city in a lot of respects, actually. It's a very vibrant place, I think. It's not the prettiest of cities, but it is. I think it's a fairly decent one. Okay, it's ready to stay. Yes. Oh dear. Hello, Liam. Hi, Lampy, Dark Angel, top channel, this lovely stuff. Thank you. It's very nice of you to say. It's almost a shame I completed them, isn't it? I did get one of my videos reinstated. Funny enough, actually, the I Spit on Your Grave got taken down, but the claim got rescinded just recently on its own. I don't know how that happened, but yeah. I think the only one that's not available now is Island of Death, of course. Because the director's a dick. Coventry would be great if the buildings were better. Doing sick in football at the moment now. It's my friends. Oh dear. Oh, the northern cities music scenes are pretty amazing. Oh, you went to Sid Barrett's house here. Cambridge is a very picturesque city for the most part. It has some kind of not so nice areas, but nothing that you sort of go, my God, this is slumland particularly. Um, it's just not the most interesting of cities in a lot of respects. It's a big town that has pretensions to be a city. It's funny what Facebook takes offence to, isn't it? Island of Death, a film with something to offend everyone. I find it too comic book to be offensive, but yes, that's pretty much kind of like how it's pitched, isn't it? It's a shame, really, because I mean, I actually do enjoy that film. It's a shame that the director decided to take against it. What are you going to do? Then, you know, I get other directors who really love my stuff, apparently, so that's always gratifying. I'm the man. Mancunian man. It's a lot more kicky punchy, this movie, isn't it? Did Cliff borrow Peter Stringfellow's Barnet for this? Yeah, you know, the thing with Island of Death is, I gave it a really quite a decent review. I thought, you know, certainly a very kind of positive review, and I don't quite know what the director was thinking when he kind of took it down. However, that aside, I think it is a film that does have some interesting ideas floating around in it. It's kind of buried under the madness of everything that goes on in it, though. Because it is a pretty crazy film. It's kind of out there. I have to say, this film is very it's very action packed, isn't it? Considering, you know, what are we about a third of the way through, um, and it hasn't stopped, does it? It's pacey as fuck. Juliet Bravo's here, yes. Is that true, Durham? Okay. I don't know what the cover is, so. Did the director of Extra ever contact you? Yes, he did. We've had a few backwards and forwards through emails and stuff. He's a lovely guy. He's a really nice guy. He's always been baffled by the affection people show towards Extra. But if you ever get the chance, watch his other film, Life Among the Cannibals. It's a really very good, fun film. It's not quite what it sounds like, but yeah. Okay, Kieran, you do what you need to do. You need a hard connection. Get yourself an Ethernet cable. It helps. He seems to have quite a sense of humour about his career. Yes, he does. He's very self-deprecating, almost to the point of like, kind of like, no, dear, don't do that. You're a nice guy. But he is a very funny person. I was very excited when he first got in touch with me. He never had that high an opinion of the film. He kind of like he thought it was pretty much a throwaway film, but you know, fans have kind of like said to him, you know, over the years, you know, kind of what the film was to them, and he sort of eventually came around to quite liking the film, at least not hating the fact that it existed. X-Row is a good film. I think I think he made a better film than he perhaps intended to. I think he put a lot into it, but he never really kind of felt like that film was anything particularly special, and certainly not something that he wanted to necessarily kind of have his career defined by. I think if anything, that was the problem for him. Was it kind of particularly because it was like in the Section 3, it was nearly prosecuted. I think it was dragged to court, but it was immediately thrown out, or just dropped on the spot for no particular reason, and that may have affected his career somewhat. Scum Ramble-Holic. I've had a few people suggest that. You never know. X-Row's got something now. It's creepy. Yeah, and what I appreciated about it more than anything was it really does do that kind of character POV thing really well. It's a story that's told from the child's kind of mind, sort of thing. You get a lot of this with the GBH films, don't you? It's just like this kind of little flashbacks to happier days kind of thing, but you never really kind of get to see that because Donovan's always in conflict. You thought it was Eddie Larch. It could have been. Just got done rewatching Alien. This time all headphones to immerse myself. Great sound design. Yes, it does. It's a beautifully crafted film. It actually really kind of highlights, certain things about Ridley Scott's direction. That the more complicated he tries to make it, the more he tries to layer on kind of like various different types of meanings to the film. The more lost the film gets. He's not that. It doesn't strike me as that terribly good at being able to kind of tell a complicated story or tell a particularly nuanced film. But when he takes a simple premise like Alien has and kind of runs with it, he does a fantastic job because he's a hell of a visual director. Even the prequel films were really quite good in that respect. Now we're really going to have a snowball fight. Yes. Oh, absolutely, Liam. There's some really good ones in Section 3. There's some really bad ones as well. Ironically, the Section 3 actually has some of the stuff I would have thought was much, much more troubling for, on a legal front than a lot of the video nasties. But some great stuff in there. Ridley Scott can't write. He can, but he just needs to keep things sort of a little bit more streamlined and not get convoluted, stuck in the convoluted aspects. I don't think he does the deeper, more nuanced kind of scripts particularly well. Mind you, he didn't write Prometheus, did he? Is it Lindelof? No one tells Big Mick Rafferty's snowman looks rubbish. Now we're really going to blow your brains out. that they went after Tenebrae is obscene. It's not surprising though, just because it's a lot of the Italian giallo films were given a hard time. It's a lot of knife play apart from anything else, and it's one of the things that the BBFC particularly did not like. Scott doesn't write his movies, does he? He interprets other people's scripts. I think that's probably true. I can't think of... I don't know if he wrote Gladiator. It's not to say, like you say, that Ridley Scott is a bad director. It's just... yeah, he just gets lost with the more kind of philosophically weighty kind of stuff. I think that's true with Blade Runner to an extent. His coppers are hardly Mawson Lewis. No, they're not. But it is kind of interesting how much more down and dirty this film is getting in GBH. GBH was very lightweight in a lot of respects in comparison to this. Really comes down to the material he picks, yeah. Isn't that so often the case, though? He's one blading man, get the slag. Right back. You never heard Scott take credit for the story or anything like that. No, because I don't think he's a dishonest player at all. You know, I certainly wouldn't say. I wouldn't have a go at his character, because I think he is very sincere with what he does. We got the song. Man, Megunian man. I'm really going for the padding though. That's the one thing I am noticing about this film is they're doing a lot of this flashback stuff. Biggest Mickers. I hope so. It is a long montage. I mean, we ain't getting back, into Boogeyman 2 kind of levels. But there was a big dispute over the writing credit for it. I seem to vaguely remember that, but I don't know. I can't remember how that went. But no, I like I say, I don't think Ridley Scott is a dishonest actor in any respect. He's never struck me as such, anyway. I mean, he could have, like with Prometheus, really kind of thrown the writer under the bus completely. I think he did defend his sort of corner a bit, but I don't seem to remember him being particularly brutal. He seems like a pleasant enough guy. Between those two films, yeah, they really kind of those people really did make their mark on them on the franchise. I mean, the third one was a mess because of studio interference as much as anything else, and then the fourth one just felt so overproduced. Simon's always got that gear. I think, one of the things is the original Alien had a lot of advantage in terms of there was no expectations for that film. And James Cameron came along and then kind of like did his own thing, which is probably the right thing to do. I don't think there's anything I would change about Aliens. But he had enough clout to kind of like make the film that he wanted, and he still wasn't really kind of at that point in his career where he had massive pretensions. He's kind of a different animal these days. It's like with all these bloody Avatar sequels that he's desperately trying to push. It's like nobody really wants that. Assembly cut is a big improvement, even though it's based on a rough cut of the movie by Fincher, not a true director's cut. Yeah, it's generally regarded as a much better version. I certainly think so. It's all about the characters within that film. It really has got dark, this film, hasn't it? Holy shit. Oh, okay. It's definitely getting down and dirty with this movie, isn't it? I tell you what, I've got to find a better quality version of this. I sincerely hope there's a really good copy knocking around somewhere. Prometheus was what Scott originally wanted as an Alien sequel. Look how awful that was when he got to make his idea. It's mostly down to the writing. Like I say, Ridley Scott's not the best at doing like really kind of layered, nuanced stories, in my opinion. Neck break. How did that pass the BBFC? Early 90s Manchester were down and dirty. Manchester had a very high amount of people being shot due to a gang war during the recession. The film precedes the gun era. It's a homage to fisticuffs. Nice little bit of background. That kind of information is always very valuable when you're kind of watching films like this. It's probably only on VHS, I think. Yeah, I imagine it probably is. I'd like to see if I can actually get hold of a copy of it on VHS. I may have to go eBaying. To a great degree, this film is a lot more like the film you would imagine the first one was, considering the reception it got. Holy fuck! He's gone all Death Wish. Holy shit! Oh, the original GBH, yeah. It's a real shame because a lot of these films, obviously, they're never going to be big kind of commercial things. So there's going to be very little chance of it actually getting like a DVD kind of release or something like that. It doesn't really kind of. You could argue a Blu-ray, I guess, in some respects, in terms of what extras you could put on, because you could put some damn fine extras onto something like a GBH and GBH2 kind of double bill Blu-ray. Because there's plenty of stuff that you could write about the man himself, apart from anything else. I would jump at the chance of doing a Blu-ray extra for a film like this. I would love the VHS copy of GBH though. 250 quid is a bit steep. Especially considering, you don't know what quality that particular video cassette's going to be in. I think potentially a remake. I would love to see the original kind of like given a bit of love though, before I saw a remake. And one of the things about GBH and this one as well, GBH2, is it is Cliff Twemlow. It's his. He has a certain charm as a filmmaker and as an actor. He's never going to win any Oscars or nothing, but there's a certain amount of sincerity and earnestness about what he does. Can a VHS film be cleaned up to DVD copy of the original sources of VHS? You can do a certain amount. You can upscale it for one thing, and you can use a certain amount of processing to sharpen it up a little bit. But there's only so much you can do. If you want. The biggest problem with this movie and when it comes to upgrading and stuff is because it's shot on video, so you are intrinsically kind of locked into that as a definition. Whereas a lot of films that you kind of think of as being, it's only on VHS, actually did have original film stock. And if you can find that, you can rescan it. And, you get those films that they have the kind of like extended versions, and they go, well, we went back to the original 35mm and we rescanned it and all that kind of stuff. But there were certain sections that were only on VHS, and you'll notice a drop in quality. So that's what those particular scenes are what you would expect as a best case scenario. And it was actually one of the downsides of the whole kind of VHS or videotape revolution, was that it really did lock a lot of stuff into being fairly low quality. And you actually get that even with things like Star Trek Voyager and Was there another one after that? Enterprise, because they were shot on digital, basically. So they were kind of locked into a very specific sort of resolution, which they can tidy up and do all that kind of stuff. But there was a big problem with things like the model shots and things like that, and getting it all to match up. And so yeah, they would have to redo all the effects and stuff like that. Yes. It's guerrilla filmmaking, and I totally understand why people will look at a film like this and go, it's cheap and nasty and all that kind of stuff. It's the look is very lo-fi. It's a bit grungy. But it's a shame that when it comes to looking at filmmaking and stuff like that is such a hurdle for a lot of people, especially these days, because it's like 4K or get the fuck out kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah. Double Mill mastered on VHS and released in preset days last night, and Invitation to Hell got a DVD release. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can release them on DVD. You just, your final images tends to be, kind of limited by the source material. I think there should be a Blu-ray release of Savage Vengeance. That's a bad movie. That is a truly bad movie. I don't know if the original VHS copies of this would have necessarily been particularly degraded. I've got some VHS, they're in varying degrees. Some are really good and others are not so good. I mean, it partly depends on the quality of tape that it's actually been put on, and I don't imagine this would have had the highest quality cassettes that it would have been recorded on now. Savage Vengeance is good. I'm pressing F to doubt on that one. It's that bit with Donald Farmer with the knife. He's going. But funny enough, Donald Farmer, from what I understand, is a pretty nice guy. See, you get moments like this with the kind of like interesting lighting and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty well filmed sequence, and it's. Cliff Twemlow, he was trying. Not sure how well VHS tape holds up over time. Actually, VHS doesn't seem to have its devotees. It does. It really does. There are some, although people can't really look at VHS and go. It's about the quality of the image and all that sort of stuff. But there is a quality to VHS which is somewhat attractive to some. No, it's the unofficial "I Spit on Your Grave" sequel. That's the biggest problem at the moment. But you can still get hold of flat screen monitors and stuff that have SCART in, so you can still watch VHS on a screen. You're just not going to likely be able to do it on a big screen. But I think you can convert. There are converters, adapters that will allow you to hook up a video cassette recorder to a big screen. Fair enough, yeah. I don't miss how much space a CRT takes up, though. That's the only thing. I get VHS when they're kind of like, generally for two reasons. One, if there's a cassette that I have a particular sort of nostalgic attachment to, which is why I got like kind of Rambo First Blood Part 2 and a few of the others. But the second reason being sometimes it's the only way to see the films. And that's certainly the case with Life Among the Cannibals, for instance. If you want to own a copy of it, then VHS is the only way to go. Other than, you can download it off the internet, but it's not quite the same, in my opinion. You just want to see a Volvo with window wipers on the headlights. Sponsored by McDonald's. Early 90s stand-up comedy. One thing I do regret is getting rid of a whole bunch of like off-air recordings that I had. But I had to because I was going to university at the time, and I just couldn't hold on to the things. About VHS porn titles, it's like that was because there was the whole kind of VHS Betamax thing going on, and one of the fallacies is that Betamax didn't have enough porn on. It's like they just stopped doing it because they weren't selling. There was no curation from the manufacturers. That's for wearing a multicoloured shell suit, yes. Oh, jeez, no. A fashion crisis, those things were. It's definitely a myth. It looks like a scout. That was certainly the uh, kind of the cliche, wasn't it? Oh, that was grim. Didn't Ash do the same thing with the rolled up paper? It was a porn mag, wasn't it? In that, tried to choke her with a porn mag. But that they looked more like they just ruptured the back of his throat with the damn thing. Has to watch his diet. Yeah, well, no, not getting any younger. First porn I saw was on Betamax. Don't think it was a licensed release though. That's the thing. I mean, I don't think with either VHS or Betamax that you needed a license to release on that cassette. Um, I think it was down to the only thing that was licensed was if you wanted to put like kind of like VHS or Betamax. Actually, no, it was just Betamax if I remember right. If you wanted to put the Betamax logo on your product, you could make a Betamax compatible machine, but you had to pay to actually kind of put the label on there. I think that's the right way around. What about Video 2000? Too late in the day, basically. Um, they just never got traction with Video 2000. There were several others as well, you know, and that's the thing. People think it was just a three-horse race, and it was like there were various different systems, some before VHS and stuff like that. But it was either cost or recording time. Just the technology wasn't quite perfected. That kind of made a lot of those things flounder. And Video 2000, it came. I think it might have even preceded VHS by a little bit, but for one reason or another, it never really landed in the way VHS did because VHS was very competitive in terms of cost and recording time. The V2000 was just a kind of a blip on the radar, though, and that's. I do remember a story of a video distributor, a kind of like a rental guy, who got nicked for having a uncertified V2000 cassette underneath the counter. It's like nobody could use it, It's like, but he got hauled into court because he had an illegal movie on a format that nobody could play. It's not entirely true. There is to an extent, but it's not because of the. That's not the reason. There was no reason for that other than the the VHS was basically the more popular format. So when companies were releasing stuff, they weren't going to waste their time with the minor market when they're going to go. Okay, if 60% of the people are using that and 30% are using this other one, and then the 20% are using this third format, we're going to go with the bigger market. And, there's production costs involved with kind of going multi-format, so. What's even more interesting than the cassette market is probably the disc kind of market, because there were so many different versions out there. Riff Tracks has this joke in one of their riffs where they say that's what you get when you. I think it was Birdemic. It's the bit where the waitress goes hi, and it's just really awkwardly cut in. He goes, "That's what happens when you record on vinyl." There were actually visual discs done on vinyl. Tech Moan is a really, really good channel if you're into that kind of stuff. VCDs, CEDs, yeah, amongst others. There are several different laser discs as well, kind of like versions of like laser discs. Now we're really going to work out, yes we are. That's a pretty cool line. That's a cool line. I like that. This needs a proper release. It really does. It's such a shame that I think pretty much all of Cliff Twemlow's stuff is kind of it's teetering on the edge of being lost. And the chances are, if this was, kind of like only ever released on a digital kind of version, then it would have been, well, a streaming kind of format, it would have been completely erased by now. It's only the fact that somebody's, had a VHS copy and decided to upload it, and nobody's contested that we're actually able to watch this. Yeah. No, they didn't. I mean, they had. From what I can tell, they were actually, reasonably decent, but it had issues. I think particularly with those cartridges going in and out, that kind of thing. You'd sort of, because it'd be recorded on both sides, so you'd have to halfway through the movie take it out, flip it over, put it back in. But the cartridge itself would come out the machine before it would play. So it was a kind of faffy, to say the least. Porn music and flashback. I still can't help but feel that these flashback scenes could have been handled a bit better. As I said though, even the worst acting in this film and GBH still kind of like a head and shoulders above Cold Fish at its best. Though Chris Biggins was pretty decent in it. A lot of the kind of like CD and VCD and that kind of stuff were very twitchy. I mean, even back in the day, from what I can tell. So even less so than VHS. A lot of the discs are degraded because of the nature of what they are as well. It makes it very difficult to watch them. VHS is very forgiving in terms of, when it does degrade, you can actually kind of still generally watch the film. You might get an occasional line or a little bit of kind of roll until it gets to a certain point. But you've got a wider margin of kind of acceptability. And, when it came to like kind of digital TV and stuff like that, and one of the biggest problems when the signals all went digital was that when you did get a problem, it was catastrophic. Whereas with the old analog signals, you'd get a bit of snow, maybe the picture wouldn't quite hold entirely all the time, but you'd still be able to watch. In digital, it's like kind of all or nothing. And streaming and stuff is a bit different in terms of the kind of how the digital works, because it's got like kind of checksums and all that kind of stuff to help kind of balance things out. But better tolerance with VHS, yeah. If you could find a VHS copy that this was actually taken from, that would be a really good copy. A lot of this is the digital kind of artifacting, so they haven't really ripped it correctly, the highest value. Look out, it's got a hat, yeah. I have hats. Do any of you watch Tecmo? Definitely worth asking, because it's a lot of conversation about the technology, and his channel is very, very good for that stuff. He does everything from kind of like, it's mostly an audiophile type guy, so he looks at a lot of audio systems and that kind of stuff, but he's done quite a lot of stuff on various video formats, including some really obscure stuff. Good. 20 cassette carousel. Yes. Yes. And when it comes to the repair stuff, I'm always kind of, I love the fact that he's kind of like me. When I repair stuff, it's a bit of a little exploration. It's a journey of kind of like discovery. He's not an expert in that kind of stuff. He just he has some techniques and things, but he's not like a fully qualified electrician or electrical engineer or anything like that. This is very down to earth. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he does. I mean, I say he's an audiophile. I mean, he's more into the technology than he is necessarily absolute perfect. But he does look into those kind of qualities that an audiophile would, with like kind of wow and flutter and levels and how the various devices perform. So he does look into a lot more detail than an average person would. So yeah, he might not describe himself as an audiophile, and probably isn't. By the purest kind of definition of the word. But he certainly goes a long way towards it. Would you be keen to give Funny Man a rewatch? I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest. He likes his Nixie clocks as well, yes. Nixie tubes are wonderful things. You can't really get hold of the original ones as easily these days, but they are very stylish. Wonderful little bits of tech. No, I see where you're coming from, Gordon. But he's a fascinating guy. I do enjoy his content. It's a bit of a roadrunner kind of way to try to kill him off, isn't it? I guess, but yeah. Thank you, Richard. Actually, you just beat me to it there. You have a Nixie clock that you need to repair. I'd love to have a play with that sort of stuff. I do tinker with electronics occasionally. I'm not very good. I tend to blow shit up a lot. That's my thing. That's why when I used to work in a certain theatre, I was known as Pyro Glenn. But those were legitimate explosives, so. That was quite funny, Simon. Yes. We will have to have another rewatch of Mad Foxes at some point. No, I wouldn't say there were vanity projects particularly. Um, I think he was just a very keen filmmaker. He kind of enjoyed being in front of the camera as well, I guess. Yeah, you could call it a vanity project in that respect, maybe, but I wouldn't say he's quite as up his own arse as Neil Breen or Tommy Wiseau are. Tech is great at making the audience understand what he means by certain tech talk. Yeah. He was also a songwriter. Yes, he did. His band did the "I'm a Man" piece of music from Dawn of the Dead. You know, Richard, actually, it did kind of have that moody blues sort of feel to it, that piece of music, didn't it? For at least for a couple of seconds. I don't have a PO box, unfortunately. I'd have one, but not many people want to send me stuff, and they cost money, and they're not cheap. That's a funny line. I know one part's still working. He did a lot of stuff. He was a very creative guy. I think, apart from anything else, that's one of the things that does come through in his work. Um, it's just, it's just kind of like, the artist. You can argue the quality of the art, but he constantly wanted to be creating. I guess I'll have to check that out, actually. IMDb says he had a heart attack in 1993, so that would have been, 2 years after this was made. Doesn't say about anything else, so... Came here for Rabid, but this is turning out to be interesting. When I was told about this here, I was like, oh fuck, I'm so in for this. Oh, another montage scene. Yes, they are laying it on a bit thick. It is one thing, like I say, with this film, I would have liked to have seen them deal with that stuff a little bit more efficiently. Lethal montage. Thing is, it's not like it's a short film either, so I mean, it doesn't need all this padding. I mean, yeah, there's a point to these montages, but just kind of figuring your way out around it a bit better would have been a better solution. It's also got that kind of very old school sort of video mixer effects kind of thing. It's like, oh, this one's got this effect built in. But I do appreciate the violence in this is like kind of like really ramped up from the original. It's kind of... Inappropriate. How pissed would you have to be to walk past a severed head and go, oh, legless? Richard. Disappointed in you. Al Cliver wouldn't have missed that golden opportunity. We haven't had an Al Cliver film for a while, have we? I think it just about knows when to lay on the cheese, doesn't it? It has to be said, if you remember the VHS cover for this, which was kind of like him in his white tux with the bloody axe and just kind of splattered with blood. This is delivering a lot more of that than the first one did. Oh, my knife's bigger than your knife. Which translates as quick, run like fuck. The bad guys are like just again, oh shit. Oh, Iris. Ouch. I'm fucking off to my bear. I'm going to Iceland, not the shop. I want to see the trailer for this, which just kind of like has that scene and it goes, big white letters on a black background going, "Don't fuck with Donovan." That would be fun. I'm enjoying this way too much considering how like lo-fi quality this actually is, visually speaking. Oh, I so much want a good version of this. It's easy to see why he got so much kind of so much of a following, a very devoted following. Um, there is something very kind of like, I mean, apart from anything else, as a sort of, if you're from Manchester, local hero type filmmaker, action star, that kind of stuff. Yeah, his films wouldn't have gotten much attention, but they're kind of, was the ones I've seen have been very watchable. Excuse me. It is Iron Pecs, Simon. It's either that or the cops were just really, really bad shots. Jail or marriage, yeah. Depends on your opinion on marriage, I guess. I sentence you to life in wedded bliss. Does he get a happy ending this time round? Oh, the cops are good guys after all. Oh, hang on. I may have spoken too soon. Look out, it's a boobies trap. Can't end it like that. More slow-mo than the ending of a violent film. It's a pretty violent film. No, Donovan. Well, there you go. GBH 2. I'd like to say, well, I hope there's a GBH 3, but, you know, I don't think he'll have had time to make it, unfortunately. But, yeah, that was actually really entertaining. I really enjoyed the hell out of that, to be quite honest. And I'm going to have to go have a look and see if I can find a proper copy of it, if there's anything like that knocking around. Typical weekend in Manchester. Is Manchester really that bad? I would hope not. Isn't it supposed to be like kind of like city of culture and all that kind of stuff? Oh dear. Did you enjoy that? That's the question. Or have I just made you sit for an hour and 49 minutes of pure hell? We have a rollercoaster of a film ending with a shotgun wedding. Yes. Oh dear, oh dear. So, the next film will be Rabid. So get your copies ready and we'll get started in a few minutes' time. And yeah, it's 90 minutes, so it's not too bad. We will be done at a reasonable hour. We'll be done before midnight, before I turn into a pumpkin, which is probably a good thing. Oh dear. When I lived there, they had gangsters about, but if it didn't bother them, it didn't bother you. Same with a lot of cities, wasn't it? Liverpool's kind of the same as well. Yeah, I mean, northern cities have had a lot of rough times, shall we say. Hopefully they're getting better up there, but I mean, I love being up north. I'm not so much a city guy, though, generally speaking, despite living in a city, but it's just a big town. All right, Simon, you take care, mate. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed yourself on that one. So everybody say goodnight to Simon. Anyone got a Halloween film list? No, I don't. I'm just sort of watching stuff as and when, to be honest with you. I still got three kind of like Hong Kong movies that were sent to me by my friend, and a whole bunch of bits and pieces. I've got some stuff on the way. There was one that was suggested by one of my friends that I've just kind of gotten around to getting hold of. The Duke of Burgundy, I think it is. So yeah. Filmed in Malta, my arse. And no, there were some bits, I guess, but that was probably him doing the let's make a holiday out of it kind of routine. Oh dear. So when you guys are kind of like queued up and ready to go, and then let me know. I'm just going to start mine up. Oh shit, son. That's why I'm doing it now. Come on. There we go. I am all queued up and ready to go. I think we all enjoyed Rabid. It is a damn good film. One of the Section 3s. Undeservedly so in some respects, because there was no reason why this film should have been given any kind of hard time. It is a damn good film. And I have just been watching... and this will be a little divisive, I guess. But... I've shown you I'd watched Possessor. I did actually get Antiviral as well. Interesting films. A lot of the vibe of kind of like the early career of David Cronenberg, with kind of, you know, various other things sort of going on. It was pretty good. I'm assuming everybody's got either a physical copy or able to sort of help themselves. But if you want to put something on the Ramble-Holics, Richard, then feel free. And then everybody can access the Ramble-Holics, then they can get the link. But I'll give a couple of minutes for that. So, the only thing with these headphones, look, it's kind of got this broken bit. Supposed to keep my head from bouncing against the hard plastic, but it doesn't. Enjoyed Antiviral Possessor. I'm hoping for more from Yes. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that there's a lot of borrowing from his dad, but it's kind of done in a good way, in my opinion. But there's enough of, you know, his own kind of approach to some of this stuff, which is makes it worthwhile, in my opinion. And it is just my opinion on that one. Got a 101 blue. Is that? That's the one I've got on DVD. I do want to get the Blu-ray at some point. Oh, for that and Shivers. That would be cool. You got the thing 4K and it's faulty. Oh, that's annoying. Well, I hope you can take it back. I don't have a monitor big enough to make it worth going 4K personally. And I always wonder how I would respond to 4K versions of these films, even on a big screen. So, yeah. But the idea of going beyond 4K, you know, unless you've got a screen the size of a frigging cinema screen, literally, I'm not quite sure what the point is. So start giving us a thumbs up when you're ready to go, guys, and we will get going. I think that would, because, yeah, we're looking at about a 20 to 12 finish-ish. Oh dear. Yeah. He has a quite sizable Wikipedia page, does Cliff Twemlow. Writing film. Tuxedo Warrior. Yeah. Yeah, definitely want to get the books on that, actually, on him. I think that would be particularly interesting. I'd like to get a projector, might get one next summer. The idea of having one in a home is one thing, but you've got to have a bloody great big wall that is in good condition and completely clear, or something like that. Or you got to kind of like take up half your bloody room with a drop down screen, that kind of stuff. I mean, if you've got the space to do it, then great. Up to the point where the disc F's up, the thing 4K snaps is outstanding picture wise. Yeah, the projectors are cheap, Richard, but the lamps aren't, generally speaking. It's usually the light source that is what ends up costing you a load of money. So they put a cheap one in there, and you have to you spend like 300 quid or whatever on a projector, and then the lamp itself is worth about 200, 150 quid or whatever. You have a nice patio here, so yeah, it's doable. Get some Mad Foxes on. Get the cops called around and you'll be neighbours, it'd be great. Projectors are good, but you need to kill all other sources of light. Yeah, unless you've got like a really kind of posh laser projector. Which is what I was going to get for my theatre, and then the funding got pulled. It was going to be a really nice screen and a top quality projector and an upgrade to the sound system, and we were like that far away from getting it done. It was like, and then we got scuppered, unfortunately. And now people are complaining that the screen's no good and the projector's shit. It's like, oh, I don't think. There's been a lot of complaints about faulty 4K thing discs. Sometimes you can get bad batches of these kind of things. But yeah, give us a thumbs up when you're ready, folks, and we'll get going. Let's not leave it too long. I've got to go to my beauty sleep. It's true. What I will do while you're doing that is I'm going to just grab myself another bottle of beer, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Yeah, I would be a little wary of those ones, Richard, because they're probably very, very low performing if at that cost. Apart from anything else, it's like with a camera, right? When projectors are just like cameras in that you've got to have good optics on them, and the light source on a cheap projector will be shockingly bad. And when you get that kind of level of brightness, the kind of light source that actually does that sort of thing, it's usually a mercury vapor lamp, which is a discharge lamp, and they're expensive. Plus, you have to actually kind of dispose of them in with specialists because they've got mercury in them. And it's like the projector I've got at work. It's an old one. It's not bad, but it's an old one, and it's the light source in it is the lamp is about 250 quid. It's like, but it needs to be reasonably good to actually kind of reach that far. But I've got things like moving lights I've used in the past, which have lamps that cost that kind of money. 150 quid for a lamp for a moving headlight and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to assume that you guys are ready. Because I'll put the last call out. Thumbs up if you're ready. Second I get one, I'm going, and if we're not, I'm going to go in about a minute and a half, unless you kind of like say no, I can't manage it, because I can't see if you're ready. Catch up. Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you, folks. Links on the Ramble-Holics page. Excellent. Okay, folks, stand by your beds. We're going to get started on the count of 5 and go. We'll go as usual. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I always love the fact that it's Ivan Reitman is involved with this. I love that title card, Rabid. It's just kind of cool. It's a really interesting font that you use on the opening titles, apart from anything else. I always, every time I see this guy, I always think it's Christopher Walken. Yeah, we did do it a while back, which is why I was kind of half thinking about sort of changing over for Shivers, and then I didn't want to mess everybody around. So I apologise for the repetitiveness, but it's a great film anyway, and it's my birthday, so indulge me. Well, it's not quite my birthday, you know what I mean. Indulge me. It could have been worse. I could have put on Crimes of the Future. Is it your own birthday? It's my approaching my birthday thing. Monday, I complete another rotation of the Earth. 12 months before I'm 50. I know, you can hardly tell. They're not worry lines, they're lines of love. Are you doing anything on your birthday? Probably recovering from a hangover. Actually, what I've got to do is go renew my driver's license, which is really boring. That's about it. I have a bottle of Icelandic vodka in my fridge, which I will be indulging a little in. And I'll probably be kind of hanging out online with my brother a little bit. I'm taking the opportunity to sort of chill out for a little while before, because I've got an absolutely mental period of work coming up. It's just going to be absolutely nuts up until midway through January. Look out, it's the Mystery Machine. Now, I don't know if that's a diesel bike or not, but generally a motorbike will kind of shut off the second you drop it. No crystal skull body. Not on this occasion, but I do need to get myself some for Christmas. Fortunately, I've got a fuck ton of overtime coming up, so I'll be able to afford myself a nice big bottle of Crystal Head Aurora. Not sure if Gary's actually still got some Crystal Head left over, or if he wants to come out of the lurk just to let me know. It's like, so that's what roasting porn star smells like. Summon the Gary. I'm sure he hates it when I do that to him. A bit of Savlon and a band-aid, it'll be fine. Canada. It was filmed in Canada. Give him an aspirin, he'll be fine. Roasting porn star smells like a Gwyneth Paltrow candle. She is an odd fruit, isn't she? Famous last words. She's just slightly toasty. First, we're going to install a vagina penis thing underneath her arm, and then we're going to make her batshit crazy. It's a delicate procedure, but I think we can pull it off. Yeah. Experiments, ladies and gentlemen. See, what's kind of funny is because they got this, character that hasn't sort of volunteered for this. So, as a story sort of thing, it's kind of interesting to sort of think why you went that way and didn't just make it like somebody who's kind of like after regular plastic surgery. It's a vanity thing. Maybe it's to do with the kind of sympathy that you're supposed to have for the character. Thanks, Doctor Exposition. I would argue that's I know you're joking and all, but it's kind of an important bit, isn't it? It's funny to think that between this and Shivers, they tend to be kind of like looked at as being the more sort of controversial kind of his work, certainly at the time. But then you got like Crimes of the Century, which is like just not Crimes of the Century. Now it's gone out of my fucking head. I just said it earlier as well. Crimes of the Future, which is legitimately controversial subject matter. I'd guess his most controversial was probably Crash. Unnecessarily so as well. Is that true, Iris? Okay. I'm not massively familiar with her career beyond a couple of adult films, but that's it. Behind the Green Door being the big one that she was in. And Cronenberg has always got that eye for that architecture, hasn't he? That sort of 1970s almost brutalist kind of thing, but very angular buildings, very kind of like bits sticking out here and there. Very modern buildings for the time. You still got the bike in the car? One of the funny things is, though, I think Marilyn Chambers did not like this film. I don't think she got it. She just found it very grotesque as well. But she's a pretty good actress, and that's the thing. It was a little bit of a shame that you kind of go, oh, it's a shame she wasn't in more mainstream sort of films. I don't know if this film had something to do with that or whether or not it was just generally filmmakers wouldn't cast a adult movie star in their movie. I always found that sort of puritanism of Hollywood in particular to be a rather amusing kind of thing, considering how legitimately lurid that some of the Hollywood scene is behind the scenes. Well, if I must do my duty. She hooked up with Linda Borman's ex-husband, and Linda had asserted that he was always very controlling. I didn't know about that. Well, I mean, I knew he was a bit of a dick, like, but it's interesting when Cronenberg really kind of like subverts the whole sort of sexual act, because that is, exactly what's going on. There's a penetrative thing going on. There's a sexual connotation to what's going, well, to the action, the transmission, and that kind of stuff. So it's a very alien sort of STD kind of thing, but he plays with how that works. So it's not like kind of like a regular act, if you know what I mean. It's an interesting way to kind of like sort of remove um, the usual kind of act, because otherwise it comes over, to a lot of people as being just exploitation, and the way that they kind of he conducts that kind of thing within these movies is interesting. It's like with Shivers, there's a very sexual kind of quality to the horror. He's a hairy boy, isn't he? So just gaffer him up for the moment. Mind you, with all that hair on his chest, oh wow, that would be painful. Yeah, because that's the painful bit. It's the start of Rabid. Yeah, the time is 20 minutes and 10 seconds. You're welcome. So there's always the talk about Cronenberg and the the sort of the body politic, if you like, when it comes to kind of the horrors that he shows. But there's always a psychological thing, and it's just partly the psychology of the virus, but there's also just human psychology and sexuality which is involved. But he kind of perverts it, which is always a fascinating thing. But and it's fascinating because he takes something that you're familiar with and then kind of like twists the angle that you see it from and kind of removes you from the the recognizable act, if you like, which is a very clever thing to do. Although some people, when you do that, it's like they think you're being deceptive, but it's not that to me, generally speaking. It is one of the strengths of, I think, of horror films in general, is taking recognizable things and kind of not just amping them up, but changing the angle of attack, if you like. Kind of switching kind of like things around, making them metaphorical, kind of. Because that's the thing that sort of allows you to kind of approach certain subject matters and acts and all that kind of stuff, which really does it affords opportunities for you to say stuff that you couldn't say straight. And things like Cannibal Man, for instance, with the sort of the kind of homosexual sort of story which is going on underneath that. It's implied, but it's not direct there, so you kind of avoid censors and that kind of stuff. What do you think of Cronenberg's later films like History of Violence and Eastern Promises? Interesting. And the thing is, I think when you look at his career, you have the kind of like the body horror stuff like this, and which goes up to like The Brood. But The Brood's like this sort of turning point in his focus, and then it becomes a much more psychological kind of thing. So he takes the body horror and makes it psychological horror. History of Violence is a really good film. It's a really good story. It's probably one of the more straight stories that he's told. But there's aspects of that kind of stuff. But you've got things like Crash and stuff, which does the kind of psychological horror in a very body horror sort of style in some respects. It's a kind of mixing of the two approaches, which is fascinating with that sort of stuff. But then you got things like Spider and stuff like that. A lot of people didn't like Spider. I actually thought it was quite a decent film. It's an unusual one in that it really does ramp up the whole kind of psychology sort of thing. But seeing that change in his career, and you see it over the like 3 or 4 films at least, where like The Brood is like the kind of start into the real kind of psychological kind of horror. But you even see it in here, like as she looks at the book of Sigmund Freud, for instance. So you get that kind of stuff. That those ideas have been kind of there, but it's just how it's sort of delivered. A side order of eye violence, if you don't mind. Yes. Yes, Adam. We are currently at 25 minutes. Yeah, don't expect it to be kind of like it's a harder one to get into than most of Cronenberg's stuff, and I think that's what kind of threw a lot of people. Almost watch it like it's not a Cronenberg film. It's kind of one of his lower budget films in a lot of respects. It seemed much more like a personal project. You're welcome, Adam. It's funny when you watch, and especially with the early Cronenberg films, you see those familiar faces sort of come and go. Spider is very much. It's one of those films that kind of really sort of delves into the psychology of the main character in it, and it is very overtly sort of coloured towards his point of view. In that respect, it gets a little weird in some places. It has some of the sort of acting overtones of Cronenberg's earlier work, despite having sort of actors that are kind of well known for being pretty good actors. So it's kind of disorientating in some respects. It's like, yes, that's right, Iris. It is. We can make this a hot tub with a difference. Isn't that one of the most uncomfortable sounds to hear in a film? Is someone drowning? That's the one thing, particularly with Jaws, is that first kill. Is the sound of the girl going under the water, and it's like, it's like, oh, it just makes you. And there's not many things that do that to me, but sound is one of those very powerful elements in a film. Oh, Blue Iris, that's shameless. I do love this overkill. Not only does the car have to turn upside down, it has to fall off a bridge and then get hit by an articulated lorry. Now all we need is 747 to come crashing down on it. It'd be great. He missed his trick. One of the things I like about their kind of character arc is how she goes through this sort of stages of kind of like, just it switches on, switches off, right? And when she comes back, when Rose comes back over the monster that she's becoming, she's confused and doesn't know what's going on, but slowly begins to realise throughout the course of the story. Yes. Sounds in the opening scene, Jaws is genuine as well. Yeah. Really? I did not know that, actually, Adam. Do we have to have this conversation about responsibility of Hollywood filmmaking? That's a genuinely traumatic scene, though. That opening of Jaws. No, don't hug her. I'm just going to full body condom on. This thing with the sound design and stuff like that, it's one of those things that often gets overlooked when people kind of talk about movies. And it's just, sound is such a powerful thing, and to the point that the BBFC will demand cuts to sound effects. And not many people kind of like really think or even know about that sort of stuff, that they will ask for certain sound effects to be kind of quietened down or sort of like buried under the rest of the soundtrack, that kind of stuff, or even cut out completely to lessen the impact. And it's like, wow, when you realise that, and you start to kind of like realise, appreciate how important that sort of stuff is. It's like you get like I was going to talk about like stabbing, but I might be a little bit kind of a little bit of bad taste at the moment. But anything like that, where you get the impact of something happening, whether it's bones breaking, things like that. If you remove those sound effects, then things, even with like kind of like really sort of explicit visuals, the impact is significantly reduced by getting rid of sounds. One of many examples of things which filmmakers get away with today, like several of the filming scenes in The Exorcist and French Connection with William Friedkin. Yeah, yeah. And it always makes me laugh with things like kind of a lot of Italian films, because you have the animal deaths and stuff like that, and people go, "Oh, it's awful," but you just look at right into the 80s, like the whole kind of even like kind of like late 80s, early 90s, what Hollywood did with animals. They're really not that much better. And a pitchfork squealing on the towers behind the shower victim in the Prowler. Yeah. It's so incredibly important, is sound design. You look at like a film like well, anything by David Lynch really, but Eraserhead in particular. The sound in that is very purposeful. Fly. I was trying to think what it was I was watching just recently, and particularly with sound design, that kind of stuff, and it just come back to me. Actually, it was Exorcist 3. The sound design in that is amazing. Yeah, it's got that real kind of like almost like kind of 1950s horror film music sting on that, hasn't it? Da da da. Although the sensibilities of this film when it comes to the violence and stuff like that is most definitely not 1950s. Ouchie. Italian film Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man is fun. I don't think I've seen that. I haven't watched enough Italian movies recently. I could get hold of some more. I think the last one I watched was Death Laid an Egg. Subtitle for that film is An Earth is an Earth. There's one thing about I really do love about this film is it is a slow film by kind of like today's standards, but it's just this ramp up of kind of the madness. It just sort of snowballs and gets worse and worse and worse. I need to see A Death Laid an Egg. What a title! It's not the greatest film I've ever watched, but it is interesting little giallo. I kind of got it on the strength of the title. Give me sharp things. Pointy. Oh, I tell you what, that's one of those bits that makes you kind of squirm. Are you crazy or something? He asks the man who's just cut off a nurse's finger, sucked on that, and then tried to kind of like brutalise everyone in the OR. Up there with House with Laughing Windows, yeah. There's one thing about the Italian titles is they are kind of interesting, to say the least. Rabies. And there's a subject for a themed movie watch. The House with the Laughing Windows, or House with Laughing Windows, Richard. Now, they tell you not to pick up hitchhikers and all that kind of stuff, but it's for a very different reason this time. Ice is a locked door. It's like Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll. There's another great title. Oh, the Plague Dogs. Is that the one you're talking about? The animated one? Richard Adams has a lot to answer for with childhood trauma and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it's Plague Dogs, isn't it? Unless you're thinking of like kind of... Well, Plague Dogs was a film. It's just an animated film. I know it was a TV series and stuff like that. Are you still planning on doing streams bi-weekly, Glenn? Any thoughts on doing on Halloween? It's going to be tough over the next couple of months. I'm going to be able to do stuff up until mid-November, or like third week of November. But after that, I'm pretty much on a pre-Christmas one and New Year's Day one. And then starting again properly midway through January. Just so you know, it's going to be a little bit kind of bit mad for me over, particularly like the last week of November into December and the first week in January. But after that, I should be back to normal. I don't know if you're thinking about the Mad Dogs, the Madness, Richard. But that's a TV series. Yeah, I'm beyond busy. I've got last week of work in December is it's a busy week the week before, but I've got a 60+ hour week kind of lined up. At which point, if I did a stream at that point, I'd be like, drool. But as soon as we get into the new year, then I'll be able to kind of like get things sorted a little bit better. Yeah, The Mad Death was a TV series. Mini-series. Apparently there's a DVD of it as well. 2.5 hours. Let's see what I've got. Interesting. It's available for $12.45 on DVD. But as for Halloween, yes, probably I'll do something for Halloween night. Well, the weekend anyway. Let's have a look. So Halloween itself is on the Sunday, but probably we'll do one on the 30th. Zombie Creeping Flesh wasn't recut to be a COVID film. It was just a film made in COVID times, as I understand it. It's still a zombie film. It was a plaguey film. I'm going to hell when they find out what I did. I put that in my wish list. Yeah, like you say, they have a lot of the characters sort of recur in Cronenberg's early films at the very least. She's the worst hitchhiker since Rutger Hauer. Um, I don't know. I mean, she seems pretty effective as a hitchhiker to me, considering what she's going to be doing. Is that Scatman Crothers in the background? I didn't notice if it was. Oh, Tony the Pimp. They don't look an awful lot like each other. You're firing on all barrels, aren't you, Iris? You think about it though. I mean, it's a perfect metaphor, isn't it, for like a kind of like an STD. Really, you've got this um, absolutely stunningly gorgeous woman who seems fun, harmless. Um, it's kind of apparently very aggressive in those terms, but she'll kill you. Then the people she fucks get up and fuck, and the people they fuck get up and fuck. She's gonna crack the case. Yeah. Oh, it's Joe Rogan. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between this and Shivers. And Cronenberg was really sort of riffing on that whole kind of STD vibe thing. But one of the things that he does, a lot in his early movies is he sort of gives like he says, he gives the virus a human body to kind of like perform in. So it's like it's kind of a character in its own right. Oh, he's totally pissed about that. I don't know if he's actually suing CNN. I think it was over that comment, but he's definitely been going after him over that one, and rightly so. You know what I just had? You've got to kind of walking into this porno cinema, and my mind just went to Margot Robbie's character in Once Upon a Time in America, going to see her own film. See, I can't imagine going to a cinema like that. Not because I think that that stuff's particularly you shouldn't watch porn or anything like that, but I don't think of it as a communal event. It's a pretty damn good film. It's always one of those weird moments, isn't it, Richard, where you kind of realise that these, kind of stars that were, kind of like big with children and all that kind of stuff are actually adults. But of all the things that, kind of come out of Hollywood, I think his indiscretion was probably a lot lower than some of the stuff that's come out over the last few years. I don't know if I. It's like, I like my women like I like my popcorn, sweet, not salted. Yeah, it was a stupid indiscretion, to say the least. But it's like, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's could have been a lot worse. Some very entertaining glasses she's got on. I want to change that sign to sorta exit. It's not quite an exit, but you can if you really need to. It's kind of how I react to being on the underground in London. See, this is what happens when you don't have the concessions cart on your trains. It's like, you get a bit of a snack attack as you're commuting. You just got to use your imagination, Gordon. That's one of those deaths you sort of go, ooh. These bloody unions. Back in a second. It's a total recall there, yes. There's something visceral about the depiction of it in this that doesn't quite work in Total Recall, though. It's a bit like Sid James, that main guy, yeah. Rabid people running around killing people. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And with that in mind, we fitted your car with flamethrowers and kind of blades and... Tall man from Phantasm has a lot to say to the reporters, yes. See, this is the thing with this build up with this scene, is that she's not really that aware of kind of like the effect of what's happening. In the same way, as most of the victims are. So you kind of got this sort of shift happening in relation to how she's starting to see the world. But she's kind of a typhoid Mary as well, which is always an interesting parallel to make. Don't smoke. Those things will kill you. This is the problem when you give the police Tommy guns. They're a little bit wild. Because the only thing that's going to stop a bad guy is a good guy with a gun. Holy shit. Oh boy. Thankfully, it seems to have settled down a bit now, doesn't it? I got down to my last third of a tank of petrol on my motorbike, and it was like, oh shit! Okay, that's not got many miles left. Oh, that reminds me, Richard. I've got to order my haggis for for Christmas at some point. Well, for New Year's. I should be heading up to see my brother on Christmas this year. No, Richard. Not enough fat people for UK Christmas shopping in 2021. Okay. No, it's not a fuel crisis. There's a supply problem. And the supply problem is transportation. But I ain't getting into the politics of that tonight. Far too much beer in me to do that. It's an emergency bin situation, quick. Well, things will get better, Richard, and they are getting better. You know, things are starting to relax a little bit now, so you take heart in that. Oh, excuse me. Burpy tonight. '70s wallpaper. She's eaten the baby. Guys, let's not go down that line. Please. We've only got a few minutes left of the film. I try not to think. There's a plague-suppressing wet towel on her head. It's very special. you very much. I shall try to have a happy birthday. I have a haggis in the fridge. Treating myself to some very nice food this weekend. And Monday, obviously. So tomorrow I have pork ribs. Then on Monday, probably on Tuesday as well, because they're a bit big, haggis and roasties. I like haggis. A lot of people freak on it. Just, they go, oh, what is in there? It's like, yeah, very traditional British style of food, so haggis birthday. Usually, if it gets to New Year, I like to treat myself to like a kind of locally made one from get it from Scotland, but get a proper traditional haggis. I like my food. Black pudding is good. One of the best foods I ever had from a chip shop was haggis and black pudding. It's kind of made into a sausage and then it's battered and deep fried. It's fucking amazing. Of course, your heart's sort of like going, you bastard. But tomorrow I'll try to make sure I do some more writing on the Exorcist 3 review. Then after that it will be ninth configuration. And I've got a little special planned for after that. Oddest thing you've ever eaten was a bull's tail. Oh, really? Okay. You get some haggis fans in tonight. That's great. My first experience with haggis was when I was dating a Scottish girl from up in Airdrie. And first time I went round to a place in Birmingham, it was she goes, you want to try some haggis? And I think she was trying to go on a dare. And I went, yeah. So, I didn't react too well to it the next day though, because I wasn't used to kind of offal. It was a bit rich. But the next day I was like, oh my god, okay. But very tasty, and I've loved it since. I think if I ever had to go back to the UK, I would go to Scotland. Some lovely places in Scotland. Looking forward to the Exorcist 3 review. And superb film. Love the confession booth scene early on. It's a really powerful film in either version. she does crazy face well. He's very understanding, considering he just found her cheating, essentially, in a Cronenbergian kind of weird way. She's not bad in this. No, she's actually really good in this. And I think her strength, when it comes to acting and stuff, is really kind of like in her face. More than the line readings. The line readings can be a little awkward sometimes, but occasionally that's the kind of dialogue that they have to say. But she's very expressive in the face. I guess it's as much to do with the direction, as anything else. But she, the like I say, the character arc works really well with her kind of flipping between the horror of what she does and because when she's in that kill mode, she's not the same person. But then as she starts to realise what she does, she goes through this sort of phase of horror, and then almost like now this kind of acceptance of what it is that she is. Are we back next week, Glenn? I've got to decide about that because there's a bit of juggling around I might have to do. But I will try and let you know as fast as possible on that one. I might try to get a couple of extra ones in before I have to step away for a little while. There's that split head sculpture. Yeah, I've got about three or 4 weeks before before the shit hits the fan, so to speak. But I will be earning a lot of overtime, which is a nice thing. She does have great face expressions. She is an actress that is very, very expressive in the face. In the eyes, there's a lot going on there, even if the line readings are a little bit can sometimes be a little bit off. It's not like every line is, but typically Cronenberg leaving you very much a downer kind of ending. It's like, okay, yeah. This bit always kind of reminds me a bit of like, Romero's kind of stuff. This is like full on crazies, isn't it? Damn you, early phone technology. It's not that early, come on. It's a new miniature she's dumped, I guess. Don't say that. Oh. And there you go. Rabid. It's one of the things about these films from around the summer. They kind of like continue the film into the credits to some extent, quite often. There's no moment of solace, though. Anyway. So, I guess we'll wrap that up around patient zero now. Zero, yes. So, yeah, it's been a good evening. Yeah, I know we watched Rabid before, but yeah, it's a good film. Definitely worth a rewatch, that was. So, just say thank you for joining. It's been a good evening. We've all got to watch GBH 2 for the first time, so that was fun, even if it was in full-on King Edward potato vision. And, of course, Rabid. So I hope you enjoyed both of those, and we'll have a look at. There was one that was suggested earlier that I'll try and see if I can find that, and maybe we'll do that on the next one. When it comes to Christmas sort of time, I'll be looking at doing something probably about the 22nd, I guess, because I'll be heading up to visit the family for Christmas. But I will be doing a New Year's stream as well for anybody who hasn't got, a social life to parties to go to or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And no, not Calamity of Snakes. But that's a rough overview. You know roughly what's going to be going on over the next couple of months now-ish, as far as I do. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But we'll look at doing a stream just before Halloween as well, particularly. If not, next week and that kind of stuff. For Nights of Baboons. Yes, we could spend half an hour kind of coming up with all sorts of much, much funnier titles than Calamity of Snakes. So have a lovely week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you on the next stream, whenever that may be. 2 weeks at the latest. So take care, folks, and good good night. And I would just say, Kerry, if you get around to watching this, then wish you all the best, and we'll look at rescheduling at some point so you've got a chance to come back on again and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, every one of you, look after yourselves. See you next time.